All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, Jules. I'm so excited to be back for another Facebook Live with you. We've been wanting to jump into Facebook Lives for a while, and now we are. So I'm so excited. We had one about a week ago where we talked about the coach training. We have a biannual coach training that we've been doing for about 9 years. It's an addiction recovery or transformational recovery and psycho-spiritual integration coach training program. It's very unique, it's very special, and mostly we haven't publicly marketed it that much, so a lot of people don't know about it. It's just word of mouth, and it's just so powerful in changing so many people's lives on a personal level and a professional level, because when you learn how to be a coach, you can start building your clientele, help other people find their passion, purpose, and mission in this life, and get themselves all sorted out and find, what's most important to them in life. And as we know right now, the world's going through a lot of stuff, and everyone on an individual level is going through a lot of stuff as well. So it's just like prime time to get out there and help others. And coaching is such a beautiful way to do it. So today we thought, let's actually interview Jules and hear about her experience. She has a unique story coming in as a younger person who hasn't trained formally in counseling or social work or anything like this, just stepping right into the coach training program, and has had a very successful start. So thank you so much, Jules, for being here and letting me interview you today so you can share with those listening what your experience has been with the training and what your experience has been coaching so far. So welcome, and thanks for being here, Jules.
Awesome. Yeah, happy to be here today. Happy to share a little bit about my story. A little bit of a different setup today. Usually I'm interviewing Deanne, so we'll see how it goes and just happy to be here.
I know it's fun being on the other side. I'm usually getting interviewed and I like doing the interviewing. So it's going to be fun to talk to you today, Jules. So we have a few questions. We'll keep this one shorter today, but there's some important stuff that we want to cover. So Jules, what we'll do is we'll start out by talking about what was your journey to even find being true to you? How did you find being true to you, and what interests you in coaching to begin with?
hmm Yeah, great question. So, starting in high school, I really knew that I wanted to serve people. I wanted to help others and show up in a compassionate way, and be able to hold space for that. When I was in high school myself, I'll just get vulnerable to start since that's what we're doing today. So I went through my own challenges with things like an eating disorder, depression, anxiety, substance use, self harm, suicidal ideation, really the whole gamut. And I knew at that point that once I was better, I wanted to use my own experiences to really help people go through their own suffering and tribulations and help overcome those challenges. So when I went to college, I got my Bachelor of Science in Psychology at Santa Clara University. Go Broncos. Really starting at the end of high school and throughout all of my college career, I was interested in researching psychedelics and their potential for use. They were a part of my own healing journey, particularly psilocybin in overcoming some of my body dysmorphia and body image problems from my eating disorder. So I knew personally that they had a lot of potential to help people and wanted to be able to leverage that in my career. So leaving college, I thought, I had to do the more traditional route. I thought that I wanted to be a psychedelic psychotherapist, go and get my PhD, but I really wasn't enamored with the thought of spending a few hundred thousands of dollars on in another 8 years in school. I was really eager to start helping people right away, and I didn't think that was an option. I thought really the one course of going to get my PhD was my only option to stepping into helping people in this work. I just happened to come across Being True to You very serendipitously in a psychedelic newsletter that I subscribe to every month. And as soon as I saw the training, I knew right away that it was the thing for me. It was going to get me where I wanted to go right away at a very affordable cost and just really start serving people. That's what I was passionate about, helping serve. So, with the generous help and support of my parents, I enrolled in the coach training program. And from there, the rest is really history. And I'm just so grateful that I knew that this was an option, because before that, it's not really talked about, and in school, it was never talked about, oh, you can go do coaching. So to just find this training and be able to, have the start of my career that I have from it has been so rewarding and fulfilling, and just so grateful to see where it can take me from here.
Yeah, thank you for diving right in with that. I got a master's in counseling, and I remember my mentors early on were saying, "Well, what's your passion?" And I said, "Well, to be a counselor." And they said, "No, what's your passion?" I said, "I want to be a counselor." And they said, "No, what's your passion?" And I remember getting kind of annoyed with that because I was like, I know what it is. But then I realized I hadn't really sat with and gone within to figure out what really is my passion. I just kind of picked from a blackboard of topics, and what career I could choose. And then I realized, my passion is to be able to help people find their true self and find the meaning of life, and that it's a very uncharted territory and existential conversation that sort of goes beyond a lot of the professions out there that seem to be very structured in terms of what you can talk about and in terms of how it's set up. So when I thought about it, I thought, gosh, I wish I could just help people, one human to another human in an organized fashion, in an ethical way, having those similar standards, but being able to go deeper and further in conversation with people. And then I found coaching, and I was like, wow, this is just like a way to run a business and be able to help people make a difference and make a livelihood off of it. So it's so cool to hear you say all of that. I'll also mention, what's really great about coaching and our program is that a lot of the success for coaches is having those life experiences and being, able to talk about them, or at least having transformed and gone through what a lot of people would call the dark night of the soul and coming out the other side. And of course, it's an ongoing cultivation process. It's not something that you just happens overnight. I mean, even coaches are still working on themselves, but having those life experiences that you're talking about, as hard as they are going through, actually helps you to relate to clients when you're working with them. And so, yeah, thank you for sharing that, Jules. Next question I'll ask is something that comes up for people is, what kind of credentials do I have to have going into this? What did you have in terms of credentials or certifications when you signed up for the Being True to You training, Jules?
hmm Yeah, great question. And, one of the things that I really love most about being true to you is that we don't require any prerequisites or certifications or direct coaching experience before entering our coach training program. We accept people from really all walks of life, all stages of life, any worldview, no matter where you're at in your journey, you can join with us. And I think that's really unique. And the accessibility of the program is something that I really appreciate. So for me, I mentioned my bachelor's in psychology before starting the training, but that was the only thing that I had. I didn't have any other certifications or prerequisites, and I didn't have any direct experience at that point working with clients, helping people here and there on a peer and friend and human level, but not actually working directly with people. So, as you were just speaking to, Deanne, some of the information that I learned through my psychology degree is helpful in working with clients, but really I think my biggest strength in working with clients directly is is my own direct experience in life, and really being able to speak to them about my own challenges that I've been through and be able to, on a human to human level, relate to them. So if anyone out there is interested but they're nervous and they're like, oh, I don't have all these degrees and stuff, like, it's really not a requirement at all, and sometimes it actually gives you an advantage. One of my clients, we actually were kind of joking a few months ago because she's was seen by a lot of people before she started working with me, and she's like, you're the only person that I've ever worked with who doesn't have their PhD, and I just feel so open to be able to speak with you, and you really helped me so much in everything. And that's because I just get really honest with her about, like, I get where she's coming from. I've had those similar experiences. So when we can relate to someone in a really compassionate way, like, that's what the client feels. And, recently in one of our lectures, Deanne, too, you mentioned how at Being True to You, what we really look at in our coaches is their character, their ability to communicate well and articulate themselves, their own transformational journey and where they're at. And then we look at credentials. So for us, it's really about the individual and their heart. And their willingness and desire to help and serve people. So I just love that about our training so much, because we have a lot of successful coaches that have gone on to help dozens of our clients, and they didn't come in with any certification other than the Being True to You training, which I think also really speaks to, the thorough and comprehensive nature of our training, in certifying our coaches. People can feel really confident in stepping into this work with just this certification. So I really love that. And yeah, if you have any apprehensions about signing up because, you don't have that experience, just talk to us. Just talk to us. And I think, you'll see that we really do make it accessible for people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been interesting. I mean, although we really value all of the professionals that come to us, we train a lot of PhDs and psychologists and counselors, whether retired or in training, social workers and physicians and nurses. And we've just had a lot of different kinds of professionals from different human services work with us. And we really value that. But what we've seen in working with people of all different levels of training and certification is that it really does come down to the heart and it comes down to character. I mean, and communication skills and coaching skills. Of course, you balance communication skills and coaching skills with the the sincere desire to help people, to genuinely get to know them, to understand them, and to have compassion and empathy for them, and that willingness to continue to do that transformational work so that you're not judging them, you're not getting triggered by what they say, you're not coming in with an agenda to try to change their journey or how they think. You're just really showing up in a really neutral, compassionate way. It's something that we teach through the training. And I think for people who genuinely want to get into this work and are willing to practice those communication and coaching skills, that's really what it takes. And then the credentials, that's additional training that can be helpful, but it's really what you do with it and it's how you integrate it. And that's really what our program is. It's very holistic and it's very integrative. So excellent. And we've seen clients come to us based on what you're saying, and they say, I don't want to work with a counselor, I really want to work with a coach. And that really speaks volumes too to what the coaching industry is doing, because people want to feel that human to human connection. They want to feel that space to be themselves and be in a container where they're not getting diagnosed or stereotyped or labels put on them, where they can actually just unpack their human experience for what it is for them, and not necessarily look at it as abnormal or pathology, but just look at it as a set of circumstances that have manifested. And how can I come to understand these circumstances so that I can make changes or personal refinements to start to create a different set of circumstances. So yeah, really, really great share. Thank you, Jules. For the next question, um, speaking to your own personal experiences and even, your professional experience, what would you say are some of your greatest takeaways and benefits from having gone through the Being True to You coach training program?
Hmm. Yeah, what a great question. I think definitely a key highlight for me that I still appreciate so much as a coach is our community. The Being True to You community is so heartful and really unique. And, I remember exactly where I was sitting when I logged onto my first Being True to You call for the meet and greet almost 2 years ago now. And my cheeks just hurt for hours afterwards from smiling because I was just so overfilled with joy and gratitude. I never really felt like I fit in a community before or anywhere that I'd ever been. And when I showed up for Being True to You, I was just like, oh my gosh, I have found my tribe. I have found my family. I found my people. And each day that I've been with Being True to You, that love for our community has just grown. So it's really unique being able to be, in a cohort of people who are all really heartfelt, compassionate, authentic, and there to really work on themselves. we're here for professional development, but it's also personal development, and people that are just really willing to be true to themselves, cultivate the true self, and not conforming to social trends or doing things the traditional way. I've always kind of been outside the norms of convention. So, finding a community of others like that, I was just, oh, just so um, overjoyed with that. And, there are a lot of opportunities throughout the training and afterwards to connect with a community of like minded others. We have the lecture discussions, we have the workshops, we have the trainee Slack group, the Facebook, our alumni community of coaches, and additional. Support groups offered throughout the training for people that, a lot of personal stuff comes up throughout this journey. And so just the level of support and really feeling compassionately held by the community, I was just blown away by that. And, especially like I went through the training kind of at the onset of COVID. And so it was a time when there was a lot of isolation around the world. And, for me, I was like, gosh, I just feel like I hit the lottery being able to, bond with this beautiful community of people and feel so supported during this time. And with that too, like I was completely blown away by the depth of connection made with my peers going through this training and our shared vulnerability on the calls. I think especially the workshop when we get into more of the experiential, kind of talking about our own experiences and being coached by others, and really showcasing our, you know, walking through a coaching experience with someone. Like we get really vulnerable on those calls, and it's always held so compassionately, and I just so appreciate that. And I was actually texting this morning with someone that I went through the cohort with, and, a dear sister of mine. And it's just always so great to, be able to keep in touch with these individuals that I just have such a special place in my heart for. And that community doesn't end when the training ends either. So we have our alumni group of coaches, which everyone is invited to join upon completion of the training. And with that is our weekly peer mentoring call, which is honestly one of the highlights of my week every week, because we just get to hop on and talk about, sticky situations with clients or just larger things happening in the industry, and just connect and bond. So the community is definitely a huge highlight for me. And then second, I would say the personal development going through this training. I came for a coach training program, and what I got was so much more. Speaking to the vulnerability part of it, I thought I was in a pretty good place when I came to the program. I had cleared a lot of my heart addictions. My mental health was in a really good place, but this training allowed me the opportunity to look at some of my softer addictions and attachments, which is something that I wasn't even aware about before coming to this training. So really things like, Netflix or socially drinking alcohol, conforming to, other people's ideas of what was cool to be accepted. And, social media and technology was a huge one too. So looking at some of these softer things that, even though they aren't heart addictions or addictions to substances, they still have the ability to control our thoughts or behavior and really play into our physiology as well. So understanding what those mean and how they interact with us through the coach training was extremely powerful. And with that as well, the coach training really helped me get clear on my own worldview and morals and values and ethical code that is important to me. And one of the core values at Being True to You is neutrality. And to be a neutral coach, it's really important that we first understand our own worldview and the way that we look at things, so that we can be aware of our biases or blind spots, so then we don't bring that into the coaching arena, and can help our clients for themselves get really clear on their own worldview and values and ethical codes. So that's something that I think is really unique about the Being True to You coach training, that I don't know another training out there that helps people in that way. Just get really clear on that, and so that we can come in a really neutral, compassionate way for our clients. Um, too, like, the training really helped me get a deeper understanding on the human condition and these addictive attachments, and tendencies that we are all susceptible to as part of the human experience, and that really keep us tied to our suffering in the material world. And even though we talked about a lot of different things that aren't in my own personal journey, it helped me cultivate a deeper sense of compassion for other people's sufferings and what they've been through in their lives. So I'm just so grateful for that. And, it really also helped me improve my relationships pretty much right away going through the coach training. I saw improvements in my interpersonal relationships because I was able to start right away applying my coaching skills, the things that I'm learning through the training into my life, so I could have better active listening and responding. And really it was great. Like people would say to me like, "Oh, I'm something's different about you. Like what's different?" And I hear that actually with people going through the training a lot, that people in their life start noticing these changes. So it's not only the personal development, the professional development, but the personal development moving through this training is just immense as well. And
Mhm.
then, I mean, there's so many highlights to speak about, but I think the last one I would say is just, of course, the coaching competencies too. It's a coach
Mm.
training program. So, um, I never could have imagined the breadth and the depth of knowledge, and material covered in this training program. It's really I don't know another training out there that covers as wide of an array of topics as deep as we do in the Being True to You coach training. And it really helps understand, the human condition, like I was saying, through these addictions and addictive attachments, which is really, I believe, at the core of helping people transform out of any state of suffering, because those addictive attachments are what keep us tied in our suffering. So, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't want to work with addiction." It's like it's not the conventional addiction that you think about. It's really about how to understand these things that keep us tied in our suffering so that we can help people transform out of that. And then come to, on their cultivation journey. So if you want to work with people in the psychedelic integration arena, it's really important to understand these parts of the human condition first so that you can know what's really at the core of what people are trying to perform or transform. Additionally, it helped, provide a really in-depth understanding of like what is coaching, really clear do's and don'ts about the coaching arena. Like Deanne was saying, it's an unregulated industry, but that does not at all mean that the standard for coaching is any lower. And that's what I love about Being True to You too, is that we really raise the standard for coaching. And it's like, if it's not going to be regulated, we are going to create our own regulations and get really clear about what is allowed in coaching and what isn't allowed. And I think anyone that works with us will attest to, we really hold that standard, and it's something that we pride ourselves in. So, I could speak to so much more, but for the sake of time, I think I'll leave it there. And yeah, there's so much that's covered in the training to really help you feel fully set up for success, in launching your own coaching business. We really help with the logistical aspects of things, getting you forms to start up, how to organize your files, how to, track your client sessions, all of these things, along with coaching skills to utilize, are included in the training, of course.
Mhm. Wow. Well, gosh, thanks for sharing so much. I mean, it's so great for me to hear. When I created this training in 2013, I created it for counselors because I was hiring counselors to come and work with me. I had a lot of clients that I was coaching after I began through the addiction recovery process, and I got too busy and I didn't know, who to hire at that point. So I hired some counselor friends, and they were the ones that came to me and said, "You need to create a training program." And I thought, well, you guys are senior to me. You guys know what to do. And they're like, we don't. This is different. This is a, psychedelic integration, the transformational process, the non-medical approach to working with people. It's very different. So when I created it, it was just going to be a very practical guide to, some of the fundamentals of coaching. And, I had no idea what it would become 10 years later, with the community aspect, with all of the practice coaching, hands-on coaching opportunities that we have, all the experiential workshops that come in. I mean, now we have senior coaches teaching workshops and teaching their method that they've developed over years of working with coaches. And so, my heart is just so full hearing you talk and hearing the testimonials from everyone else. I mean, we get testimonials almost every day from coaches and trainees sharing how this program has changed their life, and not just on a professional level, on a personal level. And the thing is professional success is a reflection of that personal work. It really is the same thing. And just like you said, sometimes people come in and think, oh, I don't want to learn about addiction, or I don't want to learn about this part or that part. Can I just, get this piece? And I'm like, if you really want to help people through that transformational process and you want to help people through psychedelic integration, you really have to go through all the modules. If you cut out even one module, then you're not going to get training in the full picture, because that addiction phenomenon is not really what we've been led to think about it. It's not just addiction to substances or something like that. It's really a phenomenon that just sits at the base of our human experience in general, that teaches us to outsource our solutions because we've outsourced and projected out our problems. And really, we need to look within and say, okay, the problem and solution actually, to some degree, comes from our inner experience, at least the resolution of it. And so, yeah, it's really cool to see people go through the experience and see how all of the different things tie together, and the importance of learning how to work with all states of suffering. Because even if you don't want to work with addiction, let's say, it's going to show up. Everything's going to show up somewhere. You're going to be working with a client around something completely different, and 3 months in, you're going to learn that they do have this kind of addiction, or vice versa, right? You only want to work with addiction and not these other things. It's all going to show up, all these different phenomenons that we have. And even though we're not working with anything from a medical perspective, and we're not directly treating these things, just supporting the human experience and the conditions that come up, we want to understand and have a good base for all of these different things. So that's great to hear. I'm so happy that you've had so many takeaways around the community aspect and personal development, and then the coaching competencies, which again is really what you want to solidify coming into this. It's not really all about the credentials. It's about your capability to bond with with a client, to understand them, what they're going through, and to create a container for them to arrive at a higher understanding of their situation, and to change the way that they're showing up mentally and physically and emotionally and behaviorally to these situations. So fantastic, Jules. Now let's get into coaching a little bit. So we talked about the actual training experience. Now, why don't you talk a little bit about what it's been like to prepare yourself to become a coach, and how the Being True to You training set you up for a coaching practice right out of the gate, right when you got certified?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think one thing that I hear a lot from people is there's a lot of imposter syndrome that comes up. People are fearful to step into this work. And so I just want to speak to that first of all and say, like you were saying earlier, it's a lifelong cultivation process. And I think an important thing is that as long as we can all stay in our transformational process and really be looking within to find the answers to things that we're struggling with, if we have tribulations in life, how can we look at, okay, how am I contributing to this? What can I do? What's within my control to change and not within my control to change? And that framing from the Being True to You coach training was really helpful for me in helping my clients internalize their solutions and not look for things outside of themselves to fix themselves or come in and save themselves. But really, it's about the personal work. And how can we look within ourselves for the solutions to our problems? Because I think innately we all kind of know, what's the right thing to do, what's the wrong thing to do, how to help ourselves get out of situations. And the hard thing to do is to actually do that, right? Like we know what we have to do, and it's hard to do it. So it's been really helpful for me to just always be a mirror to my clients and reflecting back to them. Like, you have the power within you for your own healing and transformation, and just, taking it one step at a time and chunking it down to make it possible for them to do that. And additionally, my own personal development, especially the development that came when I was going through the coach training, was really helpful in preparing me to step into this work with coaching others. It really helped me embody the work and not just, hang the certification on the wall and then not do anything with it, because there was so much personal transformation throughout the training. It really helped me feel ready and to step into coaching and really walk the walk and not just talk the talk, because clients can tell the difference. Like if you're really living and believe the things that you're saying to them, and if you have a healthy daily routine, and you really live that way, like they can tell, and they're like, okay, like I'm gonna trust you because I see where you're at and I know that you've done these things. So I feel confident and capable to do that now. So that's really helpful. And I think along with that too, it's really important as coaches to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and really making sure all those categories are covered. Because how are we supposed to help others if our cup isn't full first? If our needs aren't met, how could we help others meet their needs? So that's something that's really helped me, and the Being True to You training in the holistic approach, really helped me get clear on these different areas of, like, making sure that I am putting my self-care first, which I really appreciated. And, going throughout the training, I could just tell that everyone that I talked to, the instructors, the admin team, like, they all really lived everything that they were saying, and really, like, they were able to support and care for us so much because they were taken care of and supporting themselves. So, especially too, just going through everything that I went through at such a young age, and being able to really find the purpose in that suffering. Because I think, I work with a lot of teenagers and young adults now, and I think a really hard thing for them is they don't see the purpose in the suffering and what they're going through. Like they're suffering and it's really hard, but they can't find that meaning in it. So for me to be able to get really clear on the meaning for everything that I went through and to be able to extrapolate that, it's helpful to provide an example for how they can do that, and really make sure that, um, they can transform out of it and not just suffer through it forever. So with that too, something that was really helpful was getting really clear on the type of clients that I wanted to work with, getting clear on my client niche. I think, a lot of times people step into this and they're like, I'll work with anyone, doesn't matter, men, woman, any age, any demographic. And that's really hard. It's really hard because you can't get clear, I feel, on your process and what you want to do. So for me, I got really clear on the category of clients I wanted to work with and also the age. So it's really helpful in providing that structure for working with clients, and just knowing, again, like the relatability aspect. Like I know I've mentioned it a couple times, but it's just that important, because being able to speak directly from my own experiences with clients, it's just what I lean on probably most in my coaching. Of course, I lean on the training a lot as well, but it's really like from the heart. I kind of like to say all the time in coaching, I step out of my own way and really help my heart and my wisdom from there come through. Um, Additionally, like, the training helped me, it provided a really easy to follow structure and organization for completing coaching sessions, in terms of taking notes and tracking the sessions, and the system for keeping me organized. So that's been really helpful logistically, and just knowing, like, I always know where everything is, it's filed in the right place, I don't have to get nervous that anything gets lost or it's confidential information is going to be seen. So I appreciate that immensely. And then finally, too, the peer mentoring call, like I mentioned earlier, just having the support. I know that, gosh, I've had some difficult cases where I'm like, I'm not sure if I, can make this through, or I feel stuck. And so I always just bring that to peer mentoring, and I can have, 20 to 25 coaches with different perspectives, different life experiences responding to my case and helping me work through that. And I've had great success in, bringing things to my clients that we talked about in peer mentoring, and really being able to help in that way. So, I feel like I gained everything that I needed from this program to successfully start coaching. And I just feel so blessed and fulfilled every day to do what I can. And really to be able to be that person now at 24 years old that I needed at 16 and I didn't have. So now to do that for 16-year-olds and 18-year-olds and everyone struggling, there's really nothing gives me more fulfillment than that.
Well, thank you so much for sharing about your experience, finding the coach training program, your interest in coaching, your journey that led you to this process, going through the training and then stepping into a coach. It's great with coaching because you can go through the process. Our process in general is a pretty deep process. I mean, it's a long transformational journey. So by the time you make it to the end, you've already done so much work on yourself and you've
Mhm.
already done so much to set up your coaching practice. And then we have ongoing opportunities too, like you mentioned, peer mentoring, to where we can continue to offer mentoring and guidance. We have startup coaches workshops that are included if you come on board with us as a coach. And we also offer a business track for just a fraction of the price. And so afterward, people that really want to dial in that business aspect and go a little bit deeper in that regard can go into the business track. And so we have ongoing opportunities and also more hands-on coaching opportunities after. I would say that's the number one thing people ask for is I just want more, they just love it and they want to stay a part of the community and they really want to learn the art of that coaching process. And so we continue to create new features and we have an year-round alumni group at no extra charge. So as soon as you go through the training, then you're automatically in our alumni and you have access to people all around the world of every demographic that are doing this work. And so, we have quite an extensive coach training program, but then we have quite an extensive coaching community of so many other people that we're all learning and teaching each other. So it's just really fantastic. And Jules, it's really great to see you too step in. Initially, we were training a lot of people. I was like the youngest person in the training for a long time. I'm in my 40s now, but I was training people in their 40s and 50s, 60s, 70s, and even higher for a long time. I was expecting a lot of young coaches to come in, and mostly it seemed to be the more seasoned professionals that wanted to do this work. But now we're starting to see some more people in their 20s come in, and honestly, it's been astounding. It's been really amazing. People in their 20s and 30s coming in to coach because I think you can relate more to the younger generations, and we are seeing a huge upsurge of a variety of different epidemics in the younger generations in terms of every state of suffering and pretty severe. It's not just states of suffering, it's states of chronic suffering whereby people don't want to live anymore and can't find that meaning, like you were saying, in the suffering or in life. And so I think it's just ever important that we are helping our youth. And it just warms my heart that people like you have stepped into this process and been able to develop the skill and the confidence from this training to start coaching right away, even at your age. So thank you for sharing your experiences today. I really appreciate you coming on live and doing that. Just one final question that I would ask to you, Jules, if anybody's out there listening to this and they have any hesitation or they're on the fence about signing up for the coach training, what would you say to them?
Mhm. Yeah, great question. I can honestly say that joining this training and this community was the best decision that I've ever made in my life. And, I got the return on my investment pretty quickly in starting coaching. And, it really doesn't take too much to get started. All the coaching that we do is virtual, which makes it really nice. You don't have to have an office space. We have quite a few coaches who still work their day job while they start coaching to transition into coaching full time. And it's just such a wonderful community of heart-centered individuals that are so authentic and really care. And, we're extremely inclusive. And it's really inspirational going through this training and being with everyone. So, if there's any hesitation and you're curious about it, just give us a call. Just give us a call, send us an email, and ask us your questions directly. Talk with our team, and I can guarantee that talking with us, you'll feel that the heart is really there. Like, we're genuine, we're compassionate, and we really just want to help certify and train people so that we can be of greater service to the world, and that's what I love about our training is not everyone that goes through our training works with us directly. People take our training, take what they've learned, their personal development, and bring it back to their own communities, and their own families. And it's really beautiful because it's you get to be part of this really wonderful ripple effect of goodness in the world. And there's so much chaos in the world today that to be a part of something spreading light and spreading beauty, and there's just no better feeling than that. So, with that too, we talked a lot today about the personal development aspect of the training, and I think that's like huge. I remember someone making a joke at the end of my cohort. They were like, I almost forgot I was training to be a coach. Like, I had so much personal development. I thought this was just like a self-improvement course. And like, wow, now I feel ready because of that self-improvement to step into coaching others. So, it's a very unique training. It's taken directly from people's personal experiences. We kind of spoke to that last time. And, it's just, you can feel the heart in the training. And going through the training, you can feel Deanne's passion for helping people in creating it, and I think that's what's so beautiful. Like, it's not about anything other than just helping serve and serving more people. So yeah, if you're think you're interested but you're unsure if it's the right fit or the right time, just give us a call and talk to us. We try and be as accessible and flexible with people as possible. A lot of people go through our training at the same time as they're working full time. They have family. Like, we understand that. We love this training so much that we want as many people as possible to go through it and benefit from it. So just give us a call and just start that conversation with us.
Well, fantastic, Jules. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing your experience with the Being True to You coach training and certification process, and also the onboarding process to starting your own coaching practice and working with clients. You're one of our best coaches and one of our best coaches for teenagers. And I just can't tell you how much that warms my heart. I started Being True to You initially to work with teenagers, and it was challenging to do. And it's been many years of working with adults and young adults to now be coming back and being able to help teens again. And it's because of coaches like you who have done your work at a young age and have stepped into this process and have the heart and perseverance to help the younger generation find their way in the world. So I'm so grateful for you, and I'm grateful that you came on and shared this. For everyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to our Facebook Live regarding the Being True to You coach training and certification program. Again, this is an addiction recovery or transformational recovery from any state of suffering and psychospiritual integration coach training program with a large emphasis in psychedelic therapy integration coaching as well. We run the training twice a year, starting in the fall, early September, and starting in early March. We are currently in enrollment right now, so go to beingtruetoyou.com and look for our coach training page. You can sign up there. You can also give us a call. Our numbers here in the chat box are just there on our website, and we can chat with you about it, see how we can help you and make sure this will be a good fit for you. Like Joel said, it's all online. There's a lot of features to it. And when you look at coaching investments out there, they're pretty high these days. I would say we are the most affordable and most comprehensive coach training program that I've seen out there. So we'd love to get to know you. We'd love to meet you. And again, thank you so much for listening. Thanks to the supporters in the chat box. We really appreciate you, and everybody in the Being True to You team who's working so hard to put this training off. And that includes our instructors, all of our mentors, our senior coaches, the administration staff, the manager staff, even our partners and affiliates out there that really believe in us and give us shout outs. We just want to say thank you to everyone. And Jules, thank you so much for sharing your experience. It's such a pleasure to have you today.
Awesome. Thanks, Deanne. And thanks everyone for being here. And we'll see you next time.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye.